Hello everyone, welcome in our new webinar on FSA and Rural Horizon project on orange production in Brazil. I'm happy to see that we have already over 15 people. We actually expect the double, so we're going to gain a little bit of time by first of all reading out the antitrust caution statement, and thereafter I will present the speakers and give the floor to them. So, side platform meetings and events shall not result in any discussion, activity or conduct that may infringe on its part or on the part of its members any applicable competition law. By way of example, members, whether in organized side platform sessions or in private, while in attendance at such sessions, should not discuss, communicate or exchange any commercially sensitive information, including information relating to prices, marketing and advertising strategy, cost and revenues, trading terms and conditions with third parties, including purchasing strategy, terms of supply, trade programs, or distribution strategy. If any member has any question regarding the legality of the proposed discussion, the subject discussion should stop immediately and not resume until the facilitator has raised the issue with Antitrust Counsel and obtained permission to proceed. So my name is Emeline Fellus. I work for FSA Platform, and I'm happy to provide to you this webinar today with a number of speakers. We're going to have Annelot, who will give the main presentation, and her colleague Fatima, based in Brazil, to provide more details and answer questions on the project. And thereafter, we're going to have some of the members who have already been part of the first phase participating. For instance, Pete Hassan from FSA Campina, who is a strong supporter and big help on this project. So I'll actually give this floor very soon to Annelot. Before that, I need to give you a few logistical details. You've all been muted so as to avoid any noise during the presentation. We will take questions and discussions at the end of the presentation. There will be two ways of doing so. You will be able to raise your hand, or you can type the question. So if you raise your hand, I'll pass you the floor. If you type the question, then I'll read out the question for you. I think I will now pass the screen to Annelot. Annelot, are you here? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Wonderful. I think you should be able to have the floor very soon. So Annelot and Solidaridad and FSA Platform have been now cooperating for over a year on this project. And Annelot will give you both an introduction to what we've been doing for over a year, and then what is now being proposed as the next step to try and roll out this extremely exciting project. I will now shut up and let you speak, Annelot.
Okay, thanks, Emeline. Hi and welcome everybody to this webinar. Some of you are already quite familiar with Rural Horizons and some are not, so I will also take you to a bit of an introduction around it, but there will be, I think, plenty of time afterwards also to ask questions and raise other issues. This presentation is about the upscaling part that we're actually in now, but before I go into that, first a bit of a background. Actually, a couple of years ago, together with FSA Campina, we did a scoping in Brazil, and we started to develop Rural Horizons, which is a program of Solidaridad in different crops in different countries. And we have developed a toolkit for Rural Horizons in Brazil for orange. I will come to that later. But that phase is completed. Now currently we're in a rollout phase where this toolkit is actually implemented with one of our partners, Citri Cooperative in the Paraná state in Brazil. I will also come to that later, and phase 3 is the part where we actually want to upscale to reach maximum amount of producers for a positive impact. And this phase is already underway since roughly October last year. And in December 2015 we had a meeting with partners or organizations that were interested in the project. We've discussed the proposal, we made a presentation And from that, a smaller group of companies indicated to commit also to co-developing the proposal. So where we currently stand is that we are reviewing the feedback, and hopefully next week we will then share a new proposal, but that's, I will come to that later again. So maybe just a few words on Rural Horizons. As said, it's a Solidaridad program, and basically what it comprises of is a farmer self-assessment, where a farmer can get a good idea of how he or she performs in terms of social sustainability or environmental sustainability, but also in terms of farm management practices. And what the system then generates based on the self-assessment an action plan for the farmer to indicate priorities, how to improve, and these recommendations are put together with all partners in the sector. So there's an improvement plan, there's some time planning, sometimes also cost estimation where it's possible, so that a farmer really already within the system gets tools on how to improve. But then that is really the self-assessment and the action plan are the basis of what we call a continuous improvement program, where the producers are supported by linking them to relevant organizations that have expert knowledge on, for instance, pesticides, or maybe even credit facilitation organizations. So a couple of characteristics of Rural Horizons. It is developed with farmers, in this case together with the Citri Cooperative, and we developed this set of questions so that it is actually relevant for farmers. So together with them we sit and see, okay, what are typically the questions that we need to ask to get a good picture of how the farm is doing. And Solidaridad engages with the farmers directly to develop this questionnaire and to also get the data. So Solidaridad is also manager of that database system. And farmers get individual roadmaps in terms of how to improve, but this information, not on an individual basis but on a group basis, can also be communicated to processors or buyers in the chain that are in the project as well, so that they can see from a certain region how producers there are performing. And also what needs to be mentioned in this is that the actual security of the data, of course, is very important. Potentially sensitive information which can be traced back to the farmer, but it is secured with state-of-the-art technical security systems. So about a year ago we rounded off the pilot phase, so the development of the tool. As mentioned, we developed this with Citri, with Friesland Campina, but also Viermeneer, Site Platform, and the AIJM. And 13 farmers from Citri worked on this, but now as the tool stands, the Rural Horizons tool, we are implementing this with all 57 Citri farmers. And what is important to mention is that Rural Horizons has several benchmarks included in the tool, meaning that a producer can see how he or she performs vis-a-vis those standards. So regional or national legislation is included, but also the farm sustainability assessment criteria. Meaning that if you are, for instance, a company that have committed to reaching certain bronze, silver, or gold levels of FSA performance in a certain year, then Rural Horizons is a tool you can use for particularly the smaller to medium-sized farmers, which are typically at a lower performance level than the larger scale plantations. So this makes it very easy for those companies also to use. Some of the key challenges that have been identified while implementing Rural Horizons with the farmers already is greening disease. You might all know that this is quite a devastating disease hitting citrus production areas, and that can potentially wipe out entire plantations. On the picture here in the background you see one of the infected trees. So preventing and combating greening disease is really a big challenge in the sector. Also, Brazil has very strict legislation, which is often quite challenging for farmers to comply to. The use and storage also of pesticides, fertilizers, has also been indicated or identified actually as one of the challenges, as well as more general farm managing practices, keeping account of the costs, the income, planning of finances for months ahead. So this is just a summary of what we have found so far. So our vision really for the orange sector in Brazil is to make it a healthy sector. So making sure that farmers are able to have a healthy plantation for also future generations, for the workers, and for the environment. And we really try to target now in this project the entire citrus sector in Brazil, so engaging all relevant Brazilian stakeholders, producers, processors, input companies, government, but also the international buying companies. So that is what we foresee or hope to achieve at least, and we want to upskill our project. Initially, in the project proposal that some of you might have seen, we said we wanted to target about 4,400 producers in 6 years, so by 2021. But actually, if we look now, there are roughly 7,500 producers in Brazil currently. With this 4,400 targeted, we wanted to reach production of almost a third of Brazilian oranges. But if we take into account the trend of the last few years, is that year on year, about 10% of the producers are leaving the sector because of challenges, as mentioned before, greening disease obviously being one of them, and switching to other crops. So if this trend actually will continue, then by 2021 we will have in total, there will be around 4,000 producers. So in the current proposal, we've actually downsized this number to 2,357, very precise number, which I will specify a bit later. So how do we foresee that farmers are actually improving on a continuous basis? There's a big part of Rural Horizons program is about technical assistance, where we divide it into two parts. First is the action plan compliance. So as said, Rural Horizons self-assessment produces an action plan for a farmer on how to improve on certain priorities, and that tackles the social and environmental issues. And this part will be something that producers will be assisted with by either experts trained or hired by Solidaridad. And this will be done in partnership with organizations such as, for instance, in Brazil, SEBRAE, who have particular or specific knowledge on issues that might come out of the self-assessments. And then there's a second stream, so to say, of technical assistance, which focuses more on farm management and productivity. And this is something that will most likely be done by technicians that are already part of the producers cooperatives such as Copper Citrus. So the goal by 2021 at the end of our project is that at least 70% of all producers are performing at a FSA bronze level and 50% at silver. So Rural Horizons distinguishes 4 levels and the 3rd level actually corresponds to bronze and silver to the 4th level, so the highest level attainable in Rural Horizons. There are basically 3 parallel strategies. As said, Citri is one of the cooperatives that we are partnering with in this project, based in Paraná State, where we target small to medium scale farmers. In total, it will be 57 farms, and we will start the technical assistance, or we have actually started technical assistance this year. We will continue next year, and then by the end of next year there will be another self-assessment. So actually the program starts with a self-assessment and 2 years of technical assistance, and then at the end another assessment, so we can see what the level of performance is. And with Copper Citrus, another, well, actually the biggest citrus production organization in Brazil, is also one of our partners. They are based in, or the producers from Copper Citrus are largely based in Sao Paulo and Minas Gerais. And also for their small to medium scale farmers, we will use this Rural Horizons tool for starting this year until 2021. And within SAI, for the farm sustainability assessment, currently under development is a verification protocol or a verification system where certain farmers, when they reach a higher level of performance, or when a buying company wants to verify the self-assessments, that they can actually follow this protocol and have a system in place where this can be verified. And if you look at the citrus column, you see verification protocol test, meaning that once this verification system by SAI has been set up, we can then see how to connect this to the Rural Horizons database, so that those data can be used also to verify certain self-assessments, should that be desired by either producers or buyers. And then that will be tested with Citri and then implemented, can be implemented within Citri and Copper Citrus producers. And the verification module, together with the data in the Rural Horizons system, they make up an internal control system of the producer organizations. And then in the last column you see that for now it's been noted that we are going to do this with Copper Citrus, but it might also be other producer organizations of the junior citrus. It's where we want to target larger scale producers. And we will not do this via the Rural Horizons toolkit, which is more useful for small to medium scale producers, but producers who are at a probably higher end of performance. We want to make a sort of a checklist, which is Rural Horizons, but then so it is a gap analysis. It is a way for a farmer to assess the farm situation, but it's not. It doesn't give you the action planning, but it does give you a good overview of where the priorities are, and of course it's also linked to SAI FSA. So what we want to do during the project also to make sure that also in the longer term the impact that we get is sustainable, is that we want to look at the impact, continuously monitor the impact of the project and see also the return on investment. And we do this also because it is important to link the producers to financial institutions or government agencies, because some of the improvements that we might identify have to do with more farm management or processes. There's also most likely there will be some investments that are needed to improve on, for instance, facilities for clean drinking water for workers, or for shade, or those sorts of investments. So during the project we want to see what is the impact, what is the return on investment, really identify the business case also at farm level, and develop with all these components a model for impact investors that might be connected to the producers, to enable them to actually get also these, realize these investments that are needed. So the budget for that we estimate based on the numbers presented for the next 6 years. In total, it will be around 2.6 million euros, divided over the work stream, so to say, of citri and copper citrus. And you see in the last 3 columns where we make a distinction, or a distinction between 3 types of organizations that might contribute to it. First, there's the producer organizations themselves that are also to some extent able and willing to contribute to the project, as well as Solidaridad. We can contribute some time of staff. Then also we are already, this is ongoing and it will continue also in the future, we are exploring opportunities for co-funding, for instance, from the Dutch Sustainable Trade Organization or the German GIZ, or the Brazilian organization SEBRAE. So you see here is 1.3 million, which is actually quite ambitious, but we want to aim high and see what we can reach. But this budget is an estimation that we well, the best estimation for now. And then, of course, the private sector contribution currently at almost 900,000 euros. So the partners that have confirmed that already want to be part of this upscaling phase, of course, citri and copper citrus, but recently also added to the list Fundecitrus. Fundecitrus is the fund for citrus protection, and it's an organization where growers and processors are organized, and where they actually contribute some of their sales. I think it's $18 US dollar cents per box of oranges sold. They contribute to Fundecitrus to do research into greening, for instance. Friesland Campina has been a partner right from the start and continues to do so, as well as Piermeneer, FSA and AOJN. Yeah, and of course Solidaridad is part of it. Coca-Cola, Innocent and Pepsi were the companies, or are the companies, that are also supporting us in the proposal development. Their participation remains to be confirmed, and there's also other organizations that have expressed interest in Rural Horizons. So the way forward for the next years would be to also set up, well, first of course we need to actually wrap up the proposal writing phase, and to get commitment from companies, and to actually start on implementing all our ideas and ambitions. but it is also good to think about a governance structure. So just very briefly, being in Rural Horizons means that you are for sure part of the steering committee, where all partners are involved and will be consulted, of course, in strategic decisions and so on. A coordination committee will be a committee of probably 4 or 5 partners that get together on a more regular basis to make key decisions, inform the steering committee and so on. And the advisory board will comprise of external experts that advise the project. So the last slide, what are we going to do? What are the next steps? As I said, we're working on adjusting the proposal. And well, you've all received the email that invited you to this webinar, and that has also outlined a bit on the planning. So we want to adjust the proposal. We're still waiting for some feedback, and then we can incorporate this, share with you hopefully beginning of next week or somewhere next week. Also during the next couple of weeks, but actually on a continuous basis, we will keep on following up with here the people in this call, but also in the wider groups within SAI members and AIJN CSR platform members, but also donors. And in July already, it's actually quite soon, but we're still picking a date, which is quite a challenge. But we want to have a meeting in Brussels, a face-to-face meeting, where we are together with all people that are really interested in joining, and there we actually want to make decisions in terms of the next few weeks. Because finally, around the JUICE Summit in October, we actually want to launch this project and to get into action. So I think that was it from my side, and I will open or give you the word back, Emeline. I don't know if there's questions now, or first there's Piet that's going to say something.
Thanks so much, Annelot, for a very clear and exciting presentation. I find I really like this project and really glad to be working on it. I wonder if maybe before we give the floor to the participants in case they have questions or comments, I wonder if maybe Piet may want to add some points as a perspective and an addition from a business perspective. Piet, I'm passing you the floor. Do you want to add some words maybe? Or are you happy with the presentation?
No, I'm very happy with the presentation. It summarized good what we've been doing in the past years. And yeah, what's important for us is to move on with our sustainability journey and going further than tier 1 suppliers, meaning processors, but also looking at farming level. And yeah, with the SAI FSA being adopted by the AIJN as a benchmark and minimum level set as bronze, being sustainable in 2020, I think we have a very good vehicle in place to start this journey together. So I invite everybody to join.
Thanks, Pete.
And if there are questions, we are happy to answer.
Sure, sure. I must say this project is exciting in many ways, but one of them is also that we're learning a lot as well with regards to the combination of FSA and the use of FSA for smallholders, and we're drawing a lot from it in view of revising FSA. We will publish FSA 3.0 in April at our next yearly event in 2017, and there will be kind of a first step for smallholders, which very much draws from what we're learning with this project. Let me see if anybody has comments or questions on what has been said. So please, either you can see on the panel, you can raise your hands or directly type a question. In case you have any question or any comments, don't hesitate. I'm not seeing any comment or any questions, so maybe I will ask you one, Annelot, and Fatima. By the way, Fatima, I don't know if I will also unmute you in case you wanna contribute to the discussion. What has been the most surprising to you? Amongst what you've learned here in terms of the difficulties, or what you thought was going to be difficult and actually was not in the first phase? Can I ask you both, Fatima and Annelot, maybe? If there is something interesting, something surprising to share with the participants today with regards to this project?
Annelot, me or you?
Go ahead.
You go for it. Have some time to think.
What we have learned from our Rural Horizons projects is that we have to create a trust relationship with the farmers, you know, and this is the biggest difficulty that we have found in our projects. We have to create this trust relationship, and because all the process is voluntary, and there is all the information the farmers have to provide and the work they have to do on their farms. So it really has to be a process of mutual benefits. And what we have seen in our C3 experience is that the process of understanding their challenges and helping them to overcome the gaps they have through in this roadmap for sustainability and better management. They when they understand the process, they really buy the process, because they see that this can make their farms more profitable, more viable in the long term. So there is this, what we have seen, that there is this time and this process of engagement, and then we have to take this time and take this very carefully to have to really make really make things happen on the ground.
It's actually a very true point you're making, and it's difficult because often, you know, partners of a project, they just want to see things happening, and we tend to be impatient. And I suppose a big part is about trust building, which is the work you're doing every day, and it does take time, but it's actually compulsory if you want to achieve anything. If you rush things too much, then you won't achieve much. Actually, there is a question now from Jacqueline Nossa, who works for Citrosuco, in Brazil. She's asking what were the major problems found in the self-assessment? What kind of questions are the biggest gaps? Do you have an answer for her?
Well, in the presentation we have a summary on the major gaps that we have found in this first work with C3. We have all the challenges towards full legal compliance with labor laws and the environmental laws in Brazil. These are challenging especially for smallholders and mid-sized farmers. There are some investments and some changes they have to do in the way they manage the farms. So this is one important part. This is related, for example, for working hours, use of protection, the equipment of protection, all the health and safety requirements. There is a lot of potential of improving on the use of pesticides and water, where we can see if this is well done and better managed. Can reduce the use of pesticides and use of water and all this in this and also all the and related to the better protection of workers. At the same time, what we have now in Brazil and in many regions in the world is that the citrus sector and the citrus farmers are in a big pressure because of the greening disease and other disease, but mostly the greening disease that has no the only way that they can fight with it, it's control, and the control is not easy. They have to be more, that we need more training and collective solutions to fight this, and because this is causing lots of problems, and the farmers that are not being able to control the disease, they are leaving the sector. That's why we have this huge decrease of number of farmers in the sector in Brazil in the last 5 years. And the trend is continuing. So there are some controls, there are good experience that is happening here, especially in São Paulo, but they need more training and collective action. In the case of the C3 project in Paraná, the situation is better controlled because it's a newer area of production. You know, the orchards are newer, so they have less problems than we have in the more traditional areas in the state of São Paulo.
Thanks. I hope this answers your question, Jacqueline. Thanks. Let me see if there are other questions. Actually, there are a few people who are calling in from their phone, so they wouldn't be able to type a question, I fear, but I cannot mute everyone. So I suppose if there are comments or questions that people have not been able to share, then they're very welcome to send them by email after this webinar, and I'll forward to you, Annelot and Fatima. Okay, so maybe before we end this presentation, I'll give the floor back to Pete as well to know whether he's hoping. I mean, I'll put Fatima and Pete and Annelot here. I think there were two main reasons for this webinar to happen, and I just want to check whether we're aligned. So one of the reasons was certainly that we want to share learning. We find that a lot of things are happening within Insight platform and all over the world in terms of sustainability, and often there is a lack of communication about it. So we'd like to just share the learnings, see what has been easy, what has been difficult, so that people don't reinvent the wheel and know where to start when they do similar projects. And another, of course, is, as people have understood from the presentation, is that we're welcoming interest from other companies if they wish to join this project. So I wonder if there are any more details or things that Pete or Annelot or Fatima want to say with regards to the next phase and welcoming interest from other companies, or if you think what has been said is clear and we can actually just end this webinar very soon. Do you wish to add something, maybe Pete or Fatima or Annelot, with regards to next steps?
Maybe just to, I've already indicated in the presentation a bit the next steps. Next week probably we can share an adjusted proposal to everybody that is interested. So for sure we will make sure that, again, the people that receive the email for this webinar with this invitation also receive that proposal. Feel free to share more broadly, as said by Emeline and also by me in the presentation. We're really trying to make this a sector project that everybody can join, where we can learn from one another, where we can align and pick synergies of the work. So very welcoming to others that are interested. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. Also, I think the next few weeks we will try as much as possible, Piet, Fatima, myself, and Emeline, of course, as well, Milica, to be in contact with you to talk the proposal through a bit more. And yeah, just please don't hesitate to contact us if you have questions. We're always open for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for your time and interest, and we will be in contact, and of course following this webinar you will receive a link to the presentation as well as the recording of the webinar. Have a good afternoon. We'll be in touch. Take care. Thank you so much, Annelot and Fatima and Pete and everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.